Hey, Powers! You better watch your friggin' self, because this is one doctor who does make house calls.
Guardians of the Galaxy kicks off with a young boy witnessing his mother's death from cancer, a stark contrast to the film's later lighthearted space adventures. Austin Powers in Goldmember began with a fairly serious spy movie chase scene, starring Tom Cruise as Austin Powers, Danny DeVito as Mini-Me, and Kevin Spacey as bald megalomaniacal supervillain Dr. Evil. We find that this an in-universe adaptation of Austin's life.
And cut!
That's a cut, everybody! Moving on, check the gate, please.
The first scene of The Scorpion King takes place in a snowy mountain region, which is in complete contrast to the sandy desert region of the rest of the film. A series of unfortunate events opens with a cheerful stop-motion animation called The Littlest Elf, featuring a happy little elf. The whimsical scene is abruptly interrupted by Jude Law's voiceover, revealing that The Littlest Elf is actually a movie within the movie.
I'm sorry to say that this is not the movie you will be watching. The movie you are about to see is extremely unpleasant.
Return of the Killer Tomatoes opens with a fake Movie of the Week host introducing the film. Instead, they start playing a fictional sexploitation film called The Big-Breasted Girls Who Take Their Tops Off. After a phone call reminds the producer that he's already aired it 3 times, they switch to the actual horror comedy movie. Poetic Justice begins with a scene where Billy Zane is getting it on with a girl and then gets killed. It turns out to be a movie that Janet Jackson's character is watching.
Why can't we just sit here and watch this movie?
The first 3 Scream films are known for featuring a dead star walking in their opening scenes. Scream 4 plays with this trope in a more meta way. It starts with Lucy Hale and Shanae Grimes as the victims, but it's revealed they're part of Stab 6, a movie within the movie. Then, we see Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin watching that film, but Bell suddenly stabs Paquin, another twist revealing it's actually Stab 7. Finally, the real opening with Amy Teagarden and Britt Robertson begins.
Oh my god, I love it. I've seen it 5 times and it still gets me every time.
You're kidding.
The Coen brothers' A Serious Man takes this to the next level. The film's first 10 minutes are done in the style of a Jewish folktale, complete with actors speaking entirely in Yiddish. While it has thematic connections to the main plot, first-time viewers might wonder how it relates to the rest of the movie. Snakes on a Plane opens with a sunny tropical beach scene, far removed from the chaotic events that follow on board the plane. The Exorcist starts with an archaeological dig in Iraq, which is quite different from the film's later focus on possession and horror. The opening of Safety Last makes it seem like Harold Lloyd's character is about to be hanged, creating a tense and dramatic moment. But when the shot reverses, it turns out he's just catching a train, with the noose actually being a harmless mailbag hook. This misleading scene has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, which is a lighthearted comedy about a department store worker. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe opens with the 1940 bombing of London during World War II, a stark contrast to the magical adventure that follows in Narnia. Cujo starts off as a Beethoven-like movie about a cute St. Bernard dog, but then the dog gets bitten by a bat. The Fifth Element opens at an archaeological dig in Egypt in the 1920s. The rest of the movie is set in the lavishly designed high-tech future. Tragedy Girls looks like a typical slasher movie at the start, with the pretty blonde girl's boyfriend getting murdered by a mysterious killer, her running away, and the killer chasing after her, until he's suddenly captured by the pretty blonde and her best friend, who set the whole thing up as a trap and promptly knock him out. Turns out we're in a perspective flip of the typical slasher flick, and these are our villain protagonists.
We are gonna have so much fun together.
The 2001 DVD release of Monty Python and the Holy Grail begins with footage from the 1961 British comedy short Dentist on the Job. After a minute, the projectionist realizes the mistake and switches to the correct movie.
Not the right bloody film, Kevin.
In one theatrical re-release, the projectionist accidentally began showing The Princess Diaries 2 before switching over to the actual film. Shazam opens with a boy meeting the wizard, but it's not the protagonist Billy Batson. Instead, it's the future villain Dr. Savannah, who gets rejected by the wizard. The beginning of Serenity is a complex layering of scenes. It starts with a narration explaining the backstory, which is revealed to be a history class. This turns out to be a nightmare within a lab, which is then shown as a security recording being viewed in a flashback. The cabin in the woods begins with two guys in a nondescript facility chatting about their personal lives and getting coffee. Suddenly, the title flashes with rock music, and the movie shifts to the actual protagonist heading to a cabin. The opening was intentionally designed to make viewers think they'd walked into the wrong movie. Home Alone 3 begins with criminals smuggling military hardware through airport security, but the movie is really about a kid defending his home from these crooks.
Ma'am, you'll have to wait, please.
From Dusk Till Dawn starts as a straightforward crime story about two gangster brothers kidnapping a family. But it quickly shifts into something completely different, with the plot taking a sharp turn into supernatural horror involving vampires.
I'm not gonna drain you completely. You'll be my slave.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit opens with Something's Cooking, a maroon cartoon starring Baby Herman and Roger Rabbit. Halfway through, the director yells "cut," and we are suddenly in a live-action set where the cartoon is being filmed.
Cut, 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 cut!
What the hell is wrong with that take?
Velvet Goldmine, a movie about the rise and fall of a glam rock star, kicks off with something completely unrelated, a UFO flying across the sky. It then jumps to the childhood of Oscar Wilde. This surreal opening has little to do with the film's main plot, which focuses on a David Bowie-like character in the 1970s music scene. Under Siege 2 Dark Territory starts with a space shuttle launch which ties into the satellite plot, but feels out of place for a movie focused on a train-based action story.
I'm dead.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang opens at a church picnic, featuring a kid performing magic tricks, setting a lighthearted tone before diving into a darker story.
I'm going to be an actress.
The Princess Bride begins with a kid playing video baseball, which feels completely unrelated to the fairy tale that follows. A Serbian film opens with its protagonist, Milos the retired porn star, graphically humping a hooker on a motorcycle in the back alley before the scene turns out to be from a television set being watched by his 6-year-old son. Mission Impossible 3 opens with a shocking scene where Ethan's wife, Julia, appears to be killed. However, it's later revealed that the person who dies is actually a henchman in a mask, and the real Julia is still alive. The opening of Gangs of New York feels like it's set in a mysterious underground world, possibly post-apocalyptic. The setting remains unclear until the gang steps outside into what looks like a frozen wasteland. It's only when a title card appears that the audience realizes it's actually 19th century New York.